Hey folks, Jordan with the Young Turks and TYT Politics. As you could see, I'm in a very well lit professional studio here at Little Creek Camp in Williamsburg, Iowa. If you've been following, I've been here for a few days reporting from the camp, which is kind of a much smaller version of Standing Rock. It's really been a great experience for me. I'll have more on that. And if you want to know more about this camp, check out the videos I've done from here on youtube.com/tytpolitics. But while I'm here, I'm keeping up on the rest of the world and news that the corporate media ignores. As you know, I did a town hall in Flint, Michigan about 2.5, 3 weeks ago. Out of that town hall was actually a new camp has popped up. I won't take credit for it, but apparently folks in the audience at my town hall were inspired by some of the things they heard and have created Camp Promise of Flint, where I'll be going to later this week to cover that camp. That is a camp in a public park in Flint, Michigan. There are residents of Flint and people from elsewhere going to basically, it's beyond just a water protectors camp, but to fight back against the government poisoning them and pretty much doing nothing for them since. So I wanted to bring you some breaking news in relation to Flint. From sources, I just got word that the mayor of Flint, Karen Weaver, she was set to give her recommendations for what Flint's future water source should be. If you don't know the story, Flint switched in 2014 from Lake Huron, which is the water system that Flint bought water from Detroit's sewage and water system, and they got that water from Lake Huron. They switched to the Flint River as a temporary means until the Karagandhi Water Authority would be complete. The Karagandhi Water Authority, make no mistake about it, is a privatized water pipeline. The city officials in Flint say it's not, but that's what it is. Just Google it. It's a privatized water system that many officials and donors have been trying to push for over a decade now. And they saw when Detroit was raising their water prices to Flint. Flint was Detroit's biggest customer. They looked at that as a pretty much the golden excuse why they should get off of Detroit's water. As they were about to switch temporarily to the Flint River, while the Karagandhi Water Authority was being built, Detroit had come back and offered counter proposals. And Detroit ultimately offered to cut their rate in half. So Flint would have actually been saving about 20% a year by sticking with Detroit as opposed to switching to the KWA. So when they say the switch to the Flint River and moving to the Karagandhi Water Authority, a privatized pipeline, was to save money, that's horseshit. That's not true, because there's emails that show Detroit's offer to Flint would have actually saved them money. So Karen Weaver, the mayor of Flint, at a news conference this morning, announced her recommendation. Her recommendation is to stay on Detroit's water system. Since this crisis and this lead poisoning, Flint had switched back to Detroit's water system. The damage is obviously done, but they are now back on Detroit's water system. The mayor of Flint has basically said we need to stay on Detroit's water system for the long term, and she has said no to Flint being on the Karagandhi Water Authority or getting its water from the privatized pipeline. Honestly, I'm a little surprised by this. To date, Mayor Weaver, I think she has meant well, but hasn't exactly come out gangbusters for the citizens of Flint. She's obviously had a lot of pressure from Governor Rick Snyder, who should be in jail, if you ask me, and other officials to stick with the plan to get Flint's water from the Karagandhi Water Authority. But this was a courageous decision by her to recommend Flint staying on Detroit's water system. There's a lot of reasons this is a positive thing. But before I give you my take, I want to just give you a little bit more details. So Flint was supposed to switch to the Karagandhi Water Authority anytime now. It's pretty much built. Again, it's a privatized water pipeline. It would get its water from Lake Huron, but it's a privatized water system as opposed to Detroit's public. Now, in addition to saying no to the privatized water pipeline, Mayor Weaver also negotiated back a 9-mile stretch of pipe that had been previously sold off. So the emergency manager when the decision to switch to the Flint River, the toxic river, was made, they also, the emergency manager, his name was, let me get it for you, Darnell Early. He was the emergency manager. He sold a 9-mile piece of pipe that still connected Flint to the Detroit system. He sold it to Genesee County and the drain commissioner, Jeff Wright. Jeff Wright has been pushing for the privatized pipeline for as long as anybody can remember out there in Michigan. So the citizens of Flint said, no, do not sell that 9-mile pipe, because that part of the pipe is the last connection Flint had to Detroit's water system. Well, the emergency manager did sell it to Jeff Wright, who is literally the CEO of Karagandhi Water Authority. So he's the drain commissioner, but he's also the head of the Karagandhi Water Authority, a private water pipeline. So there's inherent conflicts of interest off the top. Jeff Wright's main goal is not the safety of the water, it's his privatized pipeline that he's been pushing. So Mayor Weaver negotiated that pipe back. So now she has bought back that pipe from Genesee County and the drain commissioner, Jeff Wright. So Flint will have access to that pipe that connects it to Detroit. That was also the piece of pipe that Flint used to sell water to other counties. So bottom line, Flint was Detroit's biggest customer. Flint bought the water from Detroit before making that toxic switch, but Flint also then sold water to other counties, and they made about $1 million a year in selling water to other counties. Once that 9-mile piece of pipe was sold off, Flint wasn't able to sell water anymore. So why this is good, I think that really, if you watch my town hall, and there's clips up on youtube.com/tytpolitics, we also have the full link to the town hall on the Facebook if you want to watch it. Just go to the playlist section, Flint is Still a Crisis, you'll find it. I explained that really a big reason for the switch to the Flint River in the first place was really a ploy for fracking. It was not, this, as I just told you, it was not to save money, because emails show Detroit Water did not want to lose its biggest customer, so they made proposals to Flint that would have saved upwards of 20% a year. So at the end of the day, switching back now and staying on Detroit's water not only is going to save Flint money, but it moves away from really what the ultimate goal here was, which was to put in a privatized water pipeline. Now, why did they want to put a privatized water pipeline in? Well, if you put a privatized water pipeline in, there's a lot less controls. It's not a public pipeline with government oversight. So say goodbye to thorough quality and environmental controls. Say goodbye to price gouging controls. You could only increase water X amount on a public pipeline per year. They are maxing out the amount that they increase the water prices, but a privatized water pipeline pretty much is a privatized water pipeline. The company and the individuals in charge of it could do whatever the hell they want. And what did they want to do along that route of the privatized pipeline? They wanted to frack. Michigan has a lot of oil and natural gas underneath the ground. They were going to frack the hell out of it, and you need a lot of water to frack. And where were they going to get that water? From this new privatized pipeline that they have control over. And as I showed you in the town hall I did, well, gee gosh jolly Jim, 4 of Rick Snyder, the governor of Michigan's top donors, have direct ties and benefits to the fracking industry, including one who used to be on the board of directors of Monsanto, including PVS Chemicals, which sells to companies fracking the pre-fracking chemicals. There's chemicals that are used before the actual fracking begins, and there's other chemical companies. One wanted to open a natural gas factory. Well, fracking helps you with your natural gas factory. So again, I'll put in the link under this video, the full town hall, if you want to watch it back so you could see these connections I made. But really why this is very important, the corporate media who has ignored the story of Flint, apparently citizens being poisoned by their government and then nothing being done for them, isn't sexy enough. It's not quite as sexy as Donald Trump tweeting out something against North Korea. So they stopped covering it. But when I keep hearing all this nonsense, we can't normalize Trump. Yeah, I agree. Trump's awful. He's a xenophobic racist. He's also an idiot who can't get anything done. So cheers to that. But yeah, we shouldn't normalize Trump. But I think in the United States, when the media and politicians pretty much do a couple photo ops in the year 2015 and 16, go down to Flint, you know, do their photo ops, drink filtered water, and say, "All right, we're gonna work on it," and try to pretty much. Hold on, I lost you for a second. When they do photo ops and then they pretty much forget Flint, well, that's normalizing the poisoning of U.S. citizens by the government and then leaving them to die in the desert without helping them. And what do I mean by that? Because I'm not being dramatic. I've been to Flint now 4 times. This will be my 5th time going back. Literally, there are many, this isn't anecdotal, there's a large number of the residents who are literally, in real time, still sick. They go to take a shower, their eyes burn. They have ongoing nosebleeds, ongoing rashes. There are people with worse problems than that. I met a father of 5 who literally, neurologically, is a shell of his former self. His family had some of the highest lead levels in the whole city. His dog died because of high lead levels. His infant son who was born with high lead levels. His wife has to take care of him. He can't take care of himself, and he's 37. And he spoke at my town hall. He had trouble standing. Adam Murphy, father of 5. I'll be talking to him when I go back to Flint. I mean, the list goes on. Melissa Mays, an activist and somebody who's really helped me getting the story right. She's got teenage boys who have pain walking because their bones have been stunted, their bone growth. So this is a small victory, but it's not going to change permanent brain damage or health issues that aren't going to go away. But the citizens of Flint, have they gotten Medicare for all for the rest of their life? No, they have not. Most of them I talk to are still fighting to get Medicaid to cover all these things, or to get Medicare to cover all these things. When you're poisoned by your government, whether it's intentional or not, you should not be fighting for your health care. They should be bending over backwards you cannot make it right, but at least to do everything you can. And let me tell you something, if what happened in Flint happened on the Upper West Side of New York City, where there's the money and different skin color, they wouldn't be dealing with that. There's also the fact that the governor, Rick Snyder, has abdicated his duty for the last 3 years. Not only will he not release his emails prior to 2014, so we could see, well, let's see those emails and what went into the decision, the real reasons this water system was switched. Did it have anything to do with fracking? Privatized pipeline ambitions? He won't release his emails. And Michigan has some of the most awful freedom of information regulations and rules, so it's very hard for journalists to track down that information. Rick Snyder also has defied a court order. A judge in November ruled that Governor Snyder, the state, had to pass home delivery of water bottles because a lot of the citizens in Flint, approximately 18%, don't have a car, so they can't go to the water distribution centers. Well, Rick Snyder he appealed it, he lost on appeal, and he still hasn't started delivering water home to home. How does that happen in America? Do we have a legal system? Do we have judges? Do we have the rule of law, as Donald Trump says? He's the law and order president, right? Well, the governor of Michigan's breaking the law. You know, on a positive note, there just was a settlement for $97 million in a private case that the citizens of Flint with other groups filed against the state of Michigan, and they won. So they're getting $97 million. It's a mix of state money and federal money that is going to replace 18,000 pipes over the next 3 years. But as you'll see when I go to the Flint camp later this week, they don't want to wait 3 years. These people have waited long enough for clean water. They're still brushing their teeth with bottled water. Many of them literally bathe with bottled water. One woman told me it takes her 160 bottled waters to fill up the bathtub. Meanwhile, the EPA doesn't really test the shower water or the bathing water, citing there's no standards for that. You know, for sink water, the standard would be 15 parts per billion. Anything under 15 parts per billion, the EPA says is under the, quote, allowable limit for lead, which, as I've reported and told you, is a bullshit arbitrary number. The allowable limit for lead in the drinking water is 0. It's 0. But moving the story forward, we will be going to Flint to cover the camp. We will be showing you what their demands are. We will be giving you a real look at what is this camp about? Because every camp is different. Obviously, we know what Standing Rock was about. Little Creek Camp is a little bit different. There's Sable Trail Pipeline in Florida and other camps that have been popping up all over the country. The Flint camp is obviously not about something that might happen in the future. It's about something that already has happened. But the past and the future are connected here, because what Mayor Karen Weaver did today was she basically said no to more profits, to profit over people. And she should be commended for that, because she took a big political risk doing that, because there's a lot of donors and there's a lot of money men and women who are not happy with her right now. And what I'm also going to do when I go to Flint is we're going to tell you a little bit more about Nestle, which I'm learning more about. Nestle, who I drink their water bottles all the time. I'll have to reconsider that. Governor Rick Snyder, like many governors and state officials around the country, have given Nestle carte blanche to do whatever the hell they want. In this case, basically, Nestle pays a $200 permit fee to drain millions of gallons of water out of freshwater creeks in the United States, to then repackage them into water bottles and sell them back to citizens. So basically, while the citizens of Flint can't drink clean water, don't have enough water bottles, Governor Rick Snyder is allowing a private corporation to come in, drain precious natural fresh water resources out of the city, package it up, and sell it back to the citizens of Flint at a ridiculous price, by the way. Why isn't that water being funneled out by the state or the EPA and being delivered home to home in Flint? We're going to ask those questions. So, a lot of questions to ask. I encourage you, if you want to take a break from binge watching Netflix and want to get back on this story, kind of refresh yourself, go to the playlist on youtube.com/tytpolitics. There's videos there dating back to last August, which was my first time back in Flint, and then my subsequent stops, as well as the town hall I just did. But I'm staying on this story. I think Donald Trump is president. It's important to cover him, but we cannot forget all the other corruption and misery going on all around us, which the corporate media doesn't want you to know about, because they're in bed with the banks. They're in bed with the people trying to privatize everything. I'm not. Thank you for watching. Follow me on Twitter at JORDANCHARITON. I'll be back with another video at some point today. And as always, subscribe to youtube.com/TYTpolitics. I will see you in Flint.